What story do you think needs to be a musical?
Cat People, an RKO film from the 1940s that was made to try to compete with the Universal monsters that were coming out at the time. Cat People is the story of a woman named Irena who's just moved to New York from Serbia, and she meets this guy named Oliver, and even before they start dating, when they're just friends, she tells him, hey, there's this legend from my village about these witches who refuse to convert to Christianity, and they escape to the mountains. But as punishment, they were cursed where when they give in to their passions, they turn into panthers that would tear people apart. And passions could mean basic human emotions like anger or jealousy and stuff, because women can't be emotional without being evil. But of course, it also means sexual desire. And Oliver, from the get-go, is so condescending and dismissive of her. He's like, oh, Irena, you crazy kid, once you become Americanized, you'll drop that silly womanish foreigner superstition. Fuck Oliver. But Irena sees something in him because they get married, and she tries to make the marriage work. Like, she goes to a psychiatrist to try to get over her fears because Oliver convinces her, no, darling, it's all just in her head. Meanwhile, Oliver's co-worker, Alice, presents herself as friendly to Irena at first, but once she finds out that Oliver isn't getting any action at home, fucking Alice does everything in her power to try to split up the marriage between Oliver and Irena so she can have Oliver for herself. And she's proud of it. She even jokes about it. There's one point where she's like, oh, you should go to Irena and try to talk things out. And Oliver's like, thanks, Alice, you're really swell. And she says, and I quote, that's what makes me so dangerous. I'm the new type of other woman. Fuck Alice. And then Irena goes to the psychiatrist, like I mentioned before, to try to get help. And the psychiatrist is like, oh, I bet you do turn into a panther, sweetie. Want to test it out? Let me kiss you and we'll see what happens. So everybody in this movie except Irena is a fucking self-centered asshole. And finally, Irena's like, fuck all you guys. Oh, you think it's just a story? Let me fucking show you it's not just a story. So Cat People needs to be a musical. There's so much it could say about folklore and how people treated immigrants back then and even now, and witchcraft and the idea of Christianity versus native folk religions, all this kind of stuff, and also with the fantastical elements of the Cat People, because it's established pretty early on that the curse is a real thing. So yes, Cat People, that needs to be a musical right now. Plus, set it in its original era, the 1940s, the music would be fantastic. And just to drive home even more how much this needs to be a musical, here's the original 1942 trailer for Cat People. Check it out.
Across the centuries comes this exciting story of a modern girl cursed by an ancient legend. The legend of the Cat People. Women whose kiss means death, whose love turns them into vicious, snarling beasts of prey.
Twice I've been followed by something that was not human, something that attempted to take my life. I believe that was the cat form of Irena.
Why should she wish to harm you?
Because I'm in love with her husband. It's shut now. Just a minute ago it was open.
It's locked. Leave us, Irena.
Come on, how fucking cool does that look? Cat People could be the most amazingly dark, witchy shit on Broadway. Or just a stage. It needs to be on a stage right now. It's got everything. It's got all the cool, like, film noir or theater noir in this case, but those cool 1940s shadowy vibes. It's got a witchy story that'll bring in all my fellow theater witches and witchy people. It's got deep psychological intrigue. It's got folklore. It's got all this great stuff. Cat People needs to be a musical right now. And again, I will volunteer to write the book, but somebody else will have to do the music and lyrics. But I will write the book and I will do it for free just because I love the story so much. Let's make this a thing. Or for further intrigue, and granted, I still haven't seen this version yet, so if you have, please no spoilers if the story is different. But there was a remake of Cat People made in the 1980s And you know who did the theme song? The late, great David Bowie himself. I'm just saying, if you're not feeling the 1940s vibes, but you still want to make it a period piece, we could set it in the 1980s and have the music styled after the late, great David Bowie, because that would be fucking awesome too. Either way, whatever time period we go with, Cat People needs to be a stage show and an awesome, dark, badass musical right now.